Hello and welcome to my channel Code with Vinay. In today's video, I'll be solving a problem requested by one of my viewers, which is right in front of you on the screen. This problem is actually a minor variation of the problem asked in ISC 2002 Computer Practical Examination. So let us first select the problem and move the problem to the IDE so that we can discuss it and then proceed with the solution. So I'll copy this and then I'll close this and then I'll paste the question in the IDE. And then let's adjust it a bit so that it fits nicely on the screen. So there we are. We have our question in the IDE, and let us give some spacing also so that it's easier to read. And once that is done, we'll proceed with the logic. I'll also close this extra tab and let's make it full screen. Okay. The question is, write a program to create a single dimension array of n numbers and transfer the smallest number to the left side and the second smallest number to the right side and so on up to n numbers. So let's make it n numbers. So understand the question. The smallest number in the input is 2 and we have moved 2 to the left hand side, that is over here. Then in the remaining array, the smallest number now is 15 and then we move 15 to the right hand side. The next number, smallest number that is 25 and that is again moved to the left hand side. The next number is 26 which is moved on to the right hand side. And finally, the last number which is remaining is 36 which goes over here. Also note that the question specifically states that transfer the smallest number to the left side. The instruction implies that we need to rearrange the numbers within the array itself rather than using a temporary array. Let's start with the program. I'll import java.util because we have to use the scanner class to get the data. So import java.util.asterisk. Then we need to create a class. We'll call it rearrange array. That will be followed by our main method. And then we'll create a scanner object. So scanner in is equal to new scanner system.in to read the data from the keyboard. When everything is over, we'll close the input stream so as to avoid memory leaks. Once that is done, we'll prompt the user. So we'll say system.out.print and then we'll give a message. We'll say enter the value of n and then we'll take the value of n. So int n is equal to in dot next int. This will get the input n. Once that is done, we have to create an array and we have to input the value into the array. So I'll say int and let's call it input array. And then we have to declare the size. So we'll say is equal to new int and the size is n. Now, once that is done, we have to loop through the entire array and get the values. So again, system.out.println, we'll prompt the user. So we'll say enter n numbers. And then we'll take the loop. So we'll say for int x is equal to 0, x is less than n x plus plus. And then we'll take the input. So input array of x is equal to in dot next int. And this will allow us to enter all the numbers. Now, once the input is done, now we should always break the programs into smaller methods so that they're easier to understand. So for that, what we'll do is we'll create a method, we'll call it rearrange array. So rearrange rearrange, spelling, rearrange array, and then we'll pass our input array to the method. So this is also done. And once we return from the method, we'll display the output. So we'll say system.out.println, and we'll say that, okay, output is, and we need to convert the array into a string. And I'm not going to take a loop for that. I'll simply use the method arrays.toString to display the array, which is input array. And now we are getting an error over here because there is no method. So let us declare the method. For that, we'll say public static void. Name of the method is rearrange array, and then we'll accept an integer array argument. So int box bracket, let's call it array. So the first step will be to initialize two pointers, let's say left and right, to point to the start and end of the array respectively. So let's begin. We'll say int left is equal to 0, and we'll say that right is equal to the end of the array. That is, it is array dot length -1. We will also be needing a temporary variable for swapping elements, and for that I'll say int temp, and then we'll take a loop from 1 to the length of the array to process each element. So for int I is equal to 1, I is less than equal to n, I plus plus. And this loop will process one element at a time, and there is no n over here. We have to say array dot length. The problem involves moving the smallest element, and therefore we need to store the index of the smallest number. And for that, we'll say int minimum index, and we'll say it is equal to the leftmost number. We have to find the index of the smallest number so that we can move it to left or right side. And for that, we'll take a nested loop starting from left to right. So we'll go over here and we'll say for int, let's say x is equal to left, x is less than equal to right, and we'll keep on increasing x by 1 each time. Our next step is to check if the current element is smaller than the element at the minimum index. If so, we'll update the minimum index. And for that, we'll have an if statement. We'll say that if our current element, that is if array at position x is less than array at the position of minimum index, we'll update the minimum index to x. So we'll say over here min index is equal to x. So now when this loop finishes, the min index will store the index of the minimum number. And then we'll go out of the loop over here. Now we have reached a stage where we are getting the smallest number in the array between left and right one by one. The next step is to move these two left and right in a round robin fashion. That means first element goes to left, the second element goes to right, and so on. In other words, when I is odd, the number at min index is to be swapped with the element at left, and when I is even, the number at min index gets swapped with the number at right. Let us implement this transfer logic, and for that we need to check whether or not the element which we are processing, that is the ith element, is odd or not. And for that we'll say if I modulus 2 is equal to 1, that means I is odd. When it is odd, the number has to go to the left hand side. So we'll take a temporary variable. We'll say temp is equal to array of left, and then we'll say that, okay, array of left is equal to array at minimum position, that is array at min index. And finally, we'll say that array of min index is equal to temp. And once that is done, we'll move our pointer to the left towards left. So we'll say left plus plus. So the pointer will move to the left position. So this was for the odd values. So odd. And then we have to take care of the even values. And for that, we'll say else. Let's, for the sake of completeness, have a comment over here. And then we need to do the same thing, but this time we have to do this for right. So we'll copy paste it over here, and I'll change the left into right. Here, here, and that's it. And now, earlier the left was moving towards the left, now right will move towards the right. So we'll say right minus minus. And that takes care of our main logic. Now I'll reformat the code to make it look better, and then we'll run the code to verify whether the logic is working or not. So let us run the program. So we'll go up, and here is our input. I'll just remove the commas so that we can simply copy paste the input. So this is our input, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. So I'll copy this input. We'll run the program. The value of n is 5. I'll paste the input. We'll press enter, and let's check. First, we are getting 2 on the left hand side. Then we are getting 15 on the right hand side. Then we are getting 25. Then we are getting 26. And finally, we are getting 36 at the center, which means that the program is working for this case. Let us also run this program for even number of values to confirm. So I'll again run the program. This time I'll give, let's say 6. I'll again paste the same input, and I'll add one more value, let's say 55. And when I press enter, 2 on the left hand side, 15 on the right, 25, then 26, 36, 55. So this is also working correctly. All right, viewers, that wraps up our coding session for today. I hope this walkthrough helped you understand how to rearrange arrays in Java in a more intuitive way. Stay curious and keep coding. Until next time, happy coding. Your feedback is valuable to me. I want to make sure that my videos are clear and helpful. You can follow me on the internet on any one or all of these channels.